Warning: prior to beginning the process of installing your new Wilwood brake kit, be sure you have thoroughly read all instructions and warnings that are provided. Disc brakes should only be installed by someone knowledgeable and competent in the functioning and maintenance of disc brakes. In this video, we'll show you how to install rear disc brakes on a 2003 Chevrolet C5 Z06 Corvette. This brake kit does not include flex lines. OEM brake lines will not adapt to Wilwood calipers. Check the assembly instructions or associated components section for brake line recommendations before assembly. In addition, Wilwood offers an extensive listing of brake lines and fittings on our website. Also, this kit is primarily for race applications. Brake pads included in this kit are intended for high temperature race use only. Extended use at low temperature can cause accelerated rotor and pad wear. Please see the associated components list on the datasheet for alternative brake pad compounds for other uses. This kit is a parking brake delete, requiring removal of the original equipment parking brake components. Remove the rear wheels. Remove the caliper bolts. Slide the caliper off the rotor and hang it out of the way using a wire hanger or something similar. Slide the rotor off the hub. Insert the T-nuts in the hat. Attach the rotor to the hat using the supplied bolts and washers. Using an alternating sequence, apply red Loctite 271 to the threads and torque to 127 inch-pounds. Safety wire bolts using standard 32 thousandths inch diameter stainless steel safety wire is shown. Mount the caliper bracket using the supplied bolts and washers. The bracket should be initially installed with one 29 thousandths thick shim on each bolt between the bracket and the upright. Initially place one 35 thousandths thick shim on each stud. Slide the hat and rotor assembly onto the hub. Install 3 lug nuts, finger tight, to keep the hat and rotor assembly in place while continuing with the installation. Mount the caliper onto the bracket. These calipers are shown with accessory bleed screw caps which are not included in the kit. Insert the brake pads into the caliper with the friction material facing the rotor. The rotor should be centered in the caliper. If not, adjust by adding or subtracting shims between the bracket and the upright. Check that the top of the brake pad is flush with the outside of the diameter of the rotor. If not, adjust by adding or subtracting shims between the caliper and the bracket. Once the caliper alignment is correct, remove the bracket mounting bolts and reinstall them using red Loctite 271. Torque to 77 foot-pounds. This kit is a parking brake delete, requiring removal of the original equipment parking brake components. Slide the hat and rotor assembly onto the hub. Mount the caliper onto the bracket. Insert the brake pads into the caliper with the friction material facing the rotor. Reinstall the center bridge pad retainer tube, bolt, and lock nut. The lock nut should be snug without play in the bolt or tube. Add the caliper bracket washers and the 12-point caliper lock nuts. Torque the caliper lock nuts to 30 foot-pounds. Add PTFE tape to the caliper fitting. Install a fitting into the caliper using a 7/16 wrench. Remove the clip from the stock hardline. Remove the stock brake line and fitting. Install the new flex line to the existing hardline. Install retaining clip. Attach the other end of the flex line to the caliper fitting. Route along the same path as the OEM holes and secure the flex line as necessary to prevent contact with moving suspension, brake, or wheel components. Before driving the vehicle, be sure to bleed the brakes. Follow the supplementary instructions included with your kit for bleeding, pad bedding, and a minimum test procedure. Install the wheel and torque to manufacturer's specifications. Warning: do not drive on untested brakes. Brakes must be tested after installation or maintenance. Minimum test procedure: make sure pedal is firm. Hold firm pressure on pedal for several minutes. It should remain in a position without sinking. If pedal sinks towards floor, check system for leaks. Do not drive vehicle if pedal does not stay firm or can be pushed to the floor with normal pressure. At very low speed, 2 to 5 miles per hour, apply brakes hard several times while turning steering from full left to full right. Repeat several times, remove the wheels, and check that components are not touching, rubbing, or leaking. Minimum test procedure continued. Carefully examine all brake components, brake lines, and fittings for leaks and interference. Make sure there is no interference with wheels or suspension components. Drive vehicle at a low speed, 15 to 20 miles per hour, making moderate and hard stops. Brakes should feel normal and positive. Again, check for leaks and interference. Always test the vehicle in a safe place where there is no danger to or from other people or vehicles. Always wear seatbelts and make use of all safety equipment.